an audience scream at Janet Street Porter before? First up today, the social phenomenon that is Twitter. Now, if there are any of you out there who regularly tweet, you'll notice that Alan Titchmarsh is a tweeter. But I can tell you, I am not. It is not true. There is an imposter in our midst. And I'd just like to make it clear that it isn't me, and whoever it is, can you please stop doing it? Now, Janet, this is, I know, a subject that's close to your heart. Here we are. This is today's Daily Mail. You've written extensively about it. In fact, you called tweeting a tidal wave of drivel. Why?
Most of the people who do it seem to think that they want to tell everybody, you know, utter banalities. And in the article, I say that the English language is such a wonderful language, and to reduce it to 100 and... oh, God, I'm choking
140
at the
cuts. Yes.
Sorry, 140 characters is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, it's just so bereft of adjectives, of description. You think we had Shakespeare, and we've come down to this.
Yeah, and the most important thing is that Janet's accent does come over in Twitter, either. Ronan, do you tweet?
I do, actually, yeah. Yeah, I do.
What do you tell people?
Well, it's great for getting information across. You got an album coming out.
You're selling product, promoting exactly.
Absolutely, that sort of thing.
You're using it to flog things, your things. But that's where it works.
That's how it works, and I understand that. I don't understand just regular tweeting, you know, I'm going to the toilet, I don't get it.
Right? A few people in the audience today would quite like to.
Well, you know, for that sort of thing, it works.
When you have it, it's like you've made a club and people can find out what you're doing and they want to buy your music, so that's logical. I mean, what I talk about in that article are the people who it's just like a compulsion and it's ruining their social lives. So if you remember 4 or 5 years ago, you'd go out for a meal, you'd talk to your friends. What happens now? You're sitting there and they've got their heads down. And
Gloria, you don't do it, I presume.
Well, no, I don't. I mean, categorically, I can't. I can understand people like yourself selling your album, or as I think I mentioned in the show, Alan Sugar allegedly selling 250,000 books. That's when it works. Yeah. But just on Sunday last, I was watching 2 of my grandchildren, and what do you call that thing where you're actually tweeting in live time? Talking in live time.
Oh, I don't know.
But anyway, you know...
Messaging.
Well, yeah, whatever it is. But, you know, instead of talking, they're actually speaking in real time on these machines. And I think, we're here for lunch. Let's talk, you know, put them away.
Well, I think they should be put down at the table, definitely. There's other things children should be doing. I mean, strolling through the countryside, for one of them, it should be made part of the school day. That's what BBC presenter in the Telegraph today is saying. She said it actually in Radio Times. Kate Humble wants it to be made compulsory for all school children to visit the countryside as part of the curriculum. I think we go along with that, won't we, Janet? You're a rambler.
Oh, most definitely. I'm Vice President of the Ramblers, and I can say that walking is just one of the most beautiful things that you can do. And I think it's terrible that so many inner-city kids don't get into the countryside.
I think it's terrible that any children nowadays are not interacting with the countryside, not going out and picking common wild flowers, learning what they are.
I agree.
And
also, so many children do actually legitimately think that milk comes in bottles out of a supermarket. You know, they never really see cows in a field. And I just think that, particularly as you get older, I think your appreciation of your garden and the countryside gets really acute. So if you're taught from an early age
just to get familiar with it. Ronan, do you get your children out into the countryside?
Yeah, we try as much as we can. I was very embarrassed one day we were driving through the country and my daughter said, "Oh, look, Dad, a cow." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, it's a cow." But like, she was shocked she'd seen this cow. And, you know, I lived in the country for many years myself. And, you know, it's just something... It should be more familiar
There's a
with
lovely
it,
story that the Dutch said Devonshire tells about Chatsworth, because they get inner-city kids there into the cowsheds watching cows being milked. She watched this little boy of about 7 who was transfixed by this cow being milked. And she said, "What do you think to that?" And he said, "I think it's disgusting." So, finally, Gary Barlow's dropped the biggest hint yet that Robbie Williams may be joining Take That full time. When the group reformed last year, Robbie said it would be for one album and a final tour, but Gary says they're writing songs together again, and who knows what'll happen next. Ronan. Yeah, I've just come up with a name for a new band, Boyzone. They're still touring together. I mean, would you like to see Robbie back in the lineup?
Yeah, I think it's great that, you know, they're a big enough band to be able to take Robbie back and do that. And, you know, it was a massive album, and it's going to be a huge tour this year. And I think it's great to see them back together again. And I think they're genuinely enjoying each other's company again and, you know, just enjoying touring.
Let's hope we can keep enjoying them. Janet, Boyzone, Gloria, we'll all be back a little bit later, but for now, my thanks to Janet Street Porter, Ronan Keating and Gloria Hamilton. So Sounds like something off Corrie, doesn't it, Boyzone? My next guest was a guest who I was just talking to then, is best known for being part of the hugely successful band Boyzone, or as they'll soon... as I'm going to rename them Royzone. His latest venture sees him taking a break from the group and collaborating with one of the world's greatest songwriters. To tell us more, please welcome Ronan Keating. But now let's talk about this. Burt Bacharach gets in touch and says, would you like to record some of my music? And you say, well, I don't know that I can fit it in.
Yeah.
What a thing.
It was unbelievable. Yeah, he called me at home and asked me to make this record with him, you know. He wanted to make this record. He'd been looking for a singer, and he approached me. It was great. I mean,
but what a catalogue of music to be able to choose from.
Yeah, I mean, that was the difficult thing, was narrowing down to 10 songs out of so many. You know, he wanted to do Alfie, I wanted to do Arthur's theme, and, you know, we had a lot of discussions like that, constantly changing around the set list, but I think we came up with 10 great tunes.
And you did it in a very famous studio.
Yeah, did it in Capitol Studios in 3 days with a 40-piece orchestra and some of the best musicians in the world. And, you know, Burt was there behind the controls. Very intimidating in a way.
Scary.
Yeah, it was. It was tough.
Were you approaching it in the way you liked, or did he come down and say, now look?
There was times where, you know, look, he's 84 years of age. He's been doing it for 50 years, and he's brilliant at what he does, and he kind of set in his ways. He knew what he wanted, and I was trying to do things my way, and you know, he'd try and bring me back all the time, but you know, he was always on the talk back. And actually, this song I'm going to sing now, I kept singing the wrong melody, and he got on the talk back and he said, hey Ronan, why don't you just sing the melody I wrote? You know, my hands were sweating. I was thinking, oh man, this is tough. You know, it was full on, but I loved it. What an experience.
Well, we'll let you do that right now. Cool. Please, just sing the right melody.
Well, I'll try.
Here with his take on the Burt Bacharach classic, I'll Never Fall in Love Again, Ronan Keating.